Oh my gosh. Oh, that was a giant. What's up guys, Jake Lowry here, and today we're gonna test out a $30 glide bait to see if it can catch giant bass in Texas. So I've been testing out a bunch of different swim baits this year, and I've had a lot of fun doing it. I've tested out swim baits in a variety of price points, all the way down from like $5 to all the way up to $75. The swim bait we're gonna be using today falls right in the middle of that range, and I think that's a good, happy medium price point. I think it's gotten a lot of hate, so we're gonna see if this thing actually works or if we should throw it in the trash. So here's the swim bait we're gonna be using today. It is the Googan Squad Rival glide bait in a 7-inch length. This thing is in a bass color. It actually looks like it's gonna be pretty good, and I've tried swim baits at $30 in this size before, and to be honest guys, glide baits of this size are actually really good because they allow you to catch bigger fish, but you also get more bites than a larger swim bait like the 6 cents draw in like an 8-inch size. 7-inch seems to be a really, really good happy medium. Before we take the glide bait out, let's take a look at the spot today because I'm pretty stoked to fish here. So we are at a pond that's actually very close to my house. I have never fished it out of the kayak, which is why I'm very excited to fish it because it's heavily pressured, but there is one bank that's not accessible to fish. You can't fish it from the bank, so you have to get it in a boat or a kayak to fish the bank. And I have fished a couple spots along that bank, and that's where I get the most bites. So I think if we throw this glide bait in this spot, we're gonna get a ton of fish. Another thing to note about this spot is there have been giant fish caught out of it. I looked at Fish Brain and someone caught like a 7-8 pound bass out of this tiny little pond down here. So that means we probably have really good odds to catch a bigger fish in this pond versus some of the other ponds we fish with big swim baits. We kind of aren't very confident about catching big fish. All right guys, here is the swim bait we're gonna be using today. I'm gonna get it out of the package so we can take a look at it. But so far, initial impressions are pretty good. It is shorter than most glide baits that you're getting at this price point, which can be a good thing numbers wise, but not necessarily a good thing big fish wise. I picked this up in a bass color, so it's yellow, green, black, has a bunch of spots along the side, and it does look like a juvenile bass. Pretty solid, realistic color from Googan Squad. The hooks are pretty sharp. I mean, they're not the best hooks I've ever had on a swim bait. I will say the draw probably has sharper hooks on it, but I don't think that's gonna be a huge issue because we're gonna be having big hook sets today. Last thing is the tail it's like a silicone tail, pretty flexible. I hope it's glued in very well, otherwise this thing's gonna pull out and then we could have some issues with that. And overall, first impressions are pretty good. The thing that is most different about this bait is its texture. So it feels like it's made out of some like plastic, obviously, and then weighted properly. But the finish on it is like a smooth, almost velvet paint. So I don't know if that's gonna be better or worse. I know the draw is pretty shiny lure, so you know that could make an impact on the fishing, but this also being a weird texture could also make an impact on its visibility in the water. But overall, out of all the glide baits I've used in this past year, I think this one's gonna be pretty solid, and I think because of its size, we're pretty confident in catching a fish. But anyways, guys, before we get the kayak in the water, I'm actually gonna stand outside of the water, get this bait in the water, and see if we can't film our first impressions from a bird's eye view so we could see a better view of the bait. And then we're gonna get started fishing, and hopefully, guys, we catch a giant fish in this pod because we know they're in here. Last thing guys, before we start fishing, make sure you like this video if you like the video and subscribe if you haven't. Again, the goal is 10,000 subscribers. We're pretty close, but only you guys can help that. So make sure you guys like this video, and now let's cut it to the fishing. All right guys, this looks like a great place to start. We got the swim bait tied on. Before we launch the kayak, we're just gonna film our first impressions of it because we can get a much better vantage point from here. But let's get a short cast. And one of the things that I'm gonna be judging about this glide bait is how easy it is to get a good action out of it. Because if we can get a good action out of it in a very simple way, that's gonna be much better than if we're fishing a glide bait that is a lot harder to get a good action out of. Now, this is actually a very fast sinking glide bait, a lot faster than I was expecting. I mean, this thing is tanking to the bottom. We're talking like, it was like 3 or 4 feet deep by the time I got it all the way back to my line. But overall, I think the action is pretty good, and I think it's very easy to get a good action on the glide bait. One of the things that happens with glide baits though is that it rolls, right? So a lot of times it glides like this, but it's not necessarily a good thing when it's rolling side to side. This thing does get a little bit of a rolling action when you fish it too fast. Oh no, guys, that is really bad on the first cast. and it looks like I'm hung up on something like a tree or something. Oh no, that's exactly what I didn't want to happen. But anyways, guys, this glide bait looks pretty good from first impressions. But once I get this out, then we're gonna launch the kayak and see if we can't get this thing out, because I mean, overall, we're just getting real stressed for nothing. Dang it. That is not a good start at all. Second cast with the $30 lure, snag straight into a bush. Oh. Okay. All right, guys. Now that we got the kayak launched, let's see if we can't get this thing out. This is bad news. Hope it's not too deep. Oh my gosh. I know exactly what it's stuck on too, guys. It's stuck on a net. And my line broke. Well, guys, we filmed our first impression of the Googan Squad glide bait and did not have any success, man. But that's not gonna stop us from having a good day. I only bought one of them. We're just gonna keep fishing and see if we can't catch anything else. But what the heck, guys? That is tragic, man. Okay, guys, that is the rig for the day. We're gonna use this black and blue crawl, and we're gonna throw it and pitch it in these very brushy areas and see if we can't pull some bass out of the brush. Let's get the kayak relaunched. Unfortunately, losing that lure did derail the video, but stay tuned, guys, because I think we still do have odds to catch a fish. All right, because I'm close to it, I'm actually gonna turn around and go to the other side of this lake. There is a really good spot over here where water comes into the lake that is usually housing fish. So if I could fish it from the other side, that's gonna help us out. But it's like a culvert. It's one of the only rocky spots in the whole lake, and it's pretty deep off in that area. So we're gonna test out this crawl over there. And again, guys, we have a lot of flexibility with what kind of baits and stuff we can use today. So we're not giving up quite yet. All right, guys, here's a good little brushy area. That might be good for some fish. I've caught a fish in this spot on a drop shot rig, so hopefully we can maybe find another one here. My drag was loose, guys. That is so annoying. That was a nice fish too. That's so stupid. That's such a stupid way to lose a fish, guys. I know it was big too, because he picked up that bait and just swam with it. I'm using flipping hooks. I can't, you know, not set the hook with these hooks. That might be the only fish too that we're gonna get today. But overall, I mean, that's a good sign. A bite is always a bite, you know. Oh. Okay. Fish, fish, fish. Oh yes, guys. First fish of the day. Came out of nowhere when I was retrieving it. Little tiny bass, but man, does that feel good. And that means, hey, persistence is working. My shaky head idea is working. He ate this thing on the retrieve in, which is hilarious, but never felt so good to hook a little tiny fish like that, guys. Man, I think this pond is gonna be a lot better than that other pond we were just fishing. Main reason is the pressure. I mean, sometimes, man, it's a Saturday and there's 10 guys out on a pond. That usually does not mean good things. Oh my gosh. Oh, oh, that was like a 10. Oh, that was a giant gar, and he had it in his mouth. Oh, my heart is racing, guys. That thing was huge. I dropped that thing back down, and he destroyed it. Guys, my heart is racing. Those gar are giant. I hope I got a good shot of that on the GoPro, man. That was so sick. All right, guys, that is going to wrap up the video. Unfortunately, we only caught one little dinky fish today, but we did see a giant gar. And really, guys, you know, we started the video off with a big valley where we lost that $30 lure immediately that was going to catch us a bunch of fish today. But you have to adapt when you're fishing, guys, and we were still able to catch a fish even though the plan was completely derailed. Anyways, guys, we had a lot of fun fishing today, and I think these spawns have a ton of potential to catch some really big fish. So I'm gonna keep fishing here. We're gonna keep grinding. But anyways, guys, if you like the video, make sure you like the video, subscribe if you haven't, and I will catch you guys next time.